Content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, municipality, individual, or anyone or anything.
He's a surgeon. He's a 100-ton boat captain. He's a lieutenant on Seaside Heights Beach Patrol in New Jersey. He's a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. He's Dr. Michael Kachmar. Need answers to your medical questions? We have them. Listen in to hear latest on medical topics related to all that and more.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar. Welcome to Scrubbing Up with Dr. Michael Kachmar.
Yeah.
Today's date is December the 16th, the year of our Lord, 2022. And I'm Dr. Michael Kachmar. I'm a board-certified reconstructive foot and ankle surgeon. I practice in New Jersey. I'm on staff at multiple hospitals. We do a lot of surgery in the hospitals. We have multiple offices. And Jeremy's going to put up our specifics. And here's our co-host, Jeremy.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Jeremy is a world-renowned ping pong player.
Ping pong.
Yeah, didn't you win the Gold Olympics?
Yeah, that's it.
And anyway, so Jeremy's here. And if you want to get a hold of us, you could give us an email at drkachmar@icloud.com. That's drkachmar@icloud.com. Mm-hmm. We're on right now. We're live on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. Or did I say Facebook?
Facebook,
yeah, YouTube. And we go out to all the podcasts.
It's important
out there.
though. If you like our show, you just or maybe you just like the two of us, kvetching at each other. Please like and subscribe. It's so important.
Yes.
And it takes only a second.
Right.
And even when you like and subscribe, it doesn't really bother you with constant notifications because we really only do a show once a week.
Right.
And then once you do that and you do like us and you do like our show, please share because that gets us out to all your friends who might like us too.
Right.
And let's face it, they might
good.
like us.
So we're a medical political show. We try to talk about medical stuff that's related to political stuff that's really based in medical. We go all over the place.
You know what? Everything. It's a mixed bag because you can't leave out any one thing because everything is interconnected.
Right. So Jeremy, we're pundits.
We're pundits.
Yeah. So if you really want to get educated and learn about stuff, probably you should go somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Not probably kidding. Yeah. We do a lot of research. We have a whole team downstairs in our studio.
I think a pundit is just somebody who likes puns.
We try to research everything. So anyway, let's start the show today. We have a lot of really interesting things. Let's go to my whiteboard. And so here's our whiteboard. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is Canada's assisted dying proposed legislation.
Now, when Mike brought this up and put it up, actually, when he put it up on the board and I saw it, and I was like, oh, wow. I actually saw I think it was Tucker Carlson who brought it up on one of his shows a few weeks back where Trudeau was trying to push for this assisted dying thing. But the ridiculous thing is it's just for people who are down. Maybe they're suffering depression. So rather than actually get them hope or give them maybe a treatment for that, they can just die. You can get them if they're sad enough. So if your son broke up with his girlfriend and he seems to be completely devastated, it might just ruin his whole life. You can get him euthanized with very little questions asked.
Right. And let me give you some perspective on this because we're going to right after this we'll talk about how the Nazis perfected the Nazi euthanasia.
This is where it's from.
They had a Department of Euthanasia, but this is how it starts. It's been around for a while.
Nobody just came up with this idea in Canada. This is a practiced sort of thing. Yeah.
It sounds good, but I think Jeremy's you gotta be careful hitting the table. I think what happens is let's not pound yet. That's the German Russian.
Yeah, that's me. If you start hearing like really unruly bangs and stuff, I'm upset.
All right, so let's look at this little video here. This is let's go to the videotape, please. And this is a little YouTube video we're gonna put here. So I'll start here. I just want to preface. So this says concerns over changes in Canada's assisted living. So listen to this real quick here.
Psychiatrists are trained to deal with people in crisis. But some are now having their own crisis of confidence when it comes to medically assisted dying.
Our role as therapists, as psychiatrists, is in suicide prevention. And so to ask us to then facilitate suicide is very dissonant.
The laws around medical assistance in dying, or MAID, are set to expand, including Canadians with mental illness. But medical experts across the country warn Canada's healthcare system is not ready.
And we already know there's not really clear consensus on a definition of, for example, what it means for someone to have a mental illness that is incurable or irremediable. So we already know there's this risk of inconsistent application of MAID.
When MAID became legal 7 years ago, only patients with a terminal illness were eligible. In 2019, a Quebec judge ruled this restriction was unconstitutional, so Parliament amended the bill.
In my view, mental illness is no different than any other medical illness.
Oh.
I believe that doctors are quite capable of assessing people with psychiatric illness and coming to the same conclusions that they have for people who have, cancer or
you kidding me? All right, stop it. Stop it. Take this guy off. Take this guy here. Stop it. Stop. Listen, this guy.
We are so angry and insulted at how.
This guy, that guy. Now, let me just make a point here. What they're proposing in Canada is expanding their euthanasia, which they have already. They'll off people, and they do this in Europe. They call it suicidal vacations. You could go on internet, and there's documentaries made about it. It's called Suicide Vacation. Basically, you go to one of these really extreme progressive countries, and they'll put you to death.
Yeah, but this guy was trying to compare it to having a bad day of a Wednesday.
Stop. But let me just make a point, though. Here's what he's saying. A couple things. I just want to make a point here. He's saying that, first of all, a doctor should be able to make the decision whether or not you should die, based on not just if you have terminal illness, but mental illness. And if you have mental illness and a doctor, which is going to be probably paid for the service of killing you or by the state, because all the doctors up there, I think, work for the Canadian government, they're going to make the decision. And he says, oh, no, it's the same. Mental illness is the same as, having cancer. So we have centers right around here. They're assisted living homes with people who are schizophrenic, and we're gonna off them. My point is that
Dr. Tang, though, before that,
she
was saying, what exactly are you considering mental illness to be? To take it to the lengths that they're
right,
trying to say. I mean, like, is it just like, I lost my wallet today, and oh my God, or is it I am deeply depressed, I'm suicidal, I've had several attempts. So do you help this person kill themselves? Now that's a
okay. Well, let's see what
you can debate about that, that situation all on its own.
You had this in the United States back in the 30s. Germany had it. They perfected it. They started with children. First of all, if you were born deformed, they would dispose of you. If you were too old, they got rid of you. And there was clinics where you would go.
Mental retardation.
Everything. Well, but even like a shattered limb, they would say, listen, we're going to, because they didn't have the way to fix it, they would just.
Like I had a third grade teacher who had one arm that was all shriveled up.
Right.
Like a
Get
dinosaur.
rid of him. Right.
She'd be gone. She certainly wouldn't have been a teacher.
No, and so Nazi Germany took this to a very high level. They actually had a department of euthanasia. Of course, down the road, what they did is they incorporated the euthanasia department to take care of the Jewish problem. Yeah. Because if you really look at it, if you read the history of what went on in the concentration camps and the execution of these people, it was military, but they had doctors there. You would come in, and the doctors would check you out, and they would decide whether or not you're going to be gassed right off the bat or you're going to work for a while. It was a medical, precise medical organization that was dealing with that. Yeah. And people don't realize that. That's why we talk about medicine here. This was a combination of good intentioned people in the beginning saying, well, maybe we could help people die if they're terminal. And this is where it goes. Human nature is very hard to put the brakes on it. Canada is going down a very dangerous road here because you make a good point. In Russia, right, or these other places, when you talk about mental illness, how many people are locked up in gulags with Stalin and Mao because they considered you mentally ill.
Yeah.
And what is mentally ill? Well, if you don't agree with me,
So
if
now
you
they
don't,
can
if
free
you
up
don't,
space.
I can tell you what's mentally ill. I'll give you a good example. If you don't believe in abortion on demand at 9 weeks, 9 months,
you must be crazy.
Right,
Yeah.
and then you know why a 12-year-old
clearly
girl.
This guy's out of his head. Let's get
Right, so you must be crazy, and we have to. So let's go back to the video. I want to show you now. This is a little video.
You ever see Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Yeah.
You know the candy guy that lured the kids in? We send the guy out like that to get to depress people.
All right, so let's put this. Just go back to my
my
iPad here. Let me just throw this up here for you.
So in this video, we're going to look at the
euthanasia.
radicalization of racial policy towards Nazi euthanasia and the euthanasia programs. Okay, and this is sort of generally on our sort of journey to go from where the Nazis began with their sort of blatant anti-Semitism, correct, all the way to their genocidal tendencies, effectively. Okay, so this is really what we're trying to get at. Okay, and one point is Nazi euthanasia. So we're going to take a little introduction, and then we're going to look at the main instrument of the Nazi euthanasia program, which was called the T4 program.
T4, okay. And listen to this. This is interesting.
Generally, Nazi euthanasia is part of the sort of Nazi ideology. So Hitler believed that people of no value to the state should be exterminated by the state. So this is again part of sort of general Nazi ideology. So Nazi ideology here. Okay, so I'm spelling words correctly today.
See, if you look here, it says ordered midwives and doctors to report to the right committee.
There was
all infants.
A strong case that much of society did agree with Hitler.
Hear this?
Okay,
they thought it was a good idea.
Maybe not so much as. So there was sort of a difficult situation within German society. People had the belief in
see if you can
euthanasia.
We're just testing our make sure you could hear us, Jeremy.
The idea of actually putting it into practice was still relatively controversial. Okay, so as a result, there was.
Let me just point to one here. If you look at this thing here, it says now this was much of the society agree with this because it was low key, in the beginning. But look at what it says here. August of 1939, a decree ordered midwives and doctors to report to the Reich Committee all infants. The people believe all infants that were born. You can't see it here. I'm going to say. Let me move this here. I got to see. Let me just see if I get it here. It's being blocked here. I'm sorry, I can't see it. It's I guess it's on his end. But if any infants were deemed would die or not be survivable or have some mental issues. And then people believed this was for research purposes, but in reality, it was used to determine who would die. Let me just put it back here.
For those who
plans for euthanasia programs. So there was an organization called the Reich Committee, which was set up to try and hide euthanasia activities. Okay, so this was sort of a smokescreen. So this was a smokescreen to hide euthanasia activities, because again, society and especially the Catholic Church at this point, sort of, it was still relatively controversial. And in August 1939, think about how late it is that Nazi euthanasia is even happening. So 1939, the Nazis came to power in 1933. Hitler sort of expressed an ideal for euthanasia as early as 1934, and they waited till 1939 before they started to bring things into pass. Okay, so a decree in 1939 ordered midwives and doctors to report to this Reich Committee, okay, all infants that were born with serious medical conditions. This is the groundworks for the euthanasia program.
See, it started gradual.
And people believed that this was for research purposes.
Yeah, they were going to die anyway, right?
They were hiding the facts, so they were hiding their true purpose.
And this is the big fear about the whole thing. This right here.
Yeah. Wait. We'll leave it when just finish.
Okay. In reality, it was to determine who would die. Okay, who should be euthanized.
This is children we're talking about, not even the Jews
so
or
those who were
older
children
people
to die were taken to clinics where they'd be either overdosed or they were just left to starve to death. Okay, and this method was used to euthanize around 5,000 children between 1939 and 1945.
Okay. So let's go back to me. So I want to make a point here. This was
before we switch though. I want to just say that first sentence: Hitler believed that people of no value. I mean, that's a very broad statement.
And there's no sovereignty there. Those people had no sovereignty, right, Jeremy?
No sovereignty.
Now he was a dictator, and I can tell you, I want to make a point.
They didn't even know the word.
There's no difference between a socialist dictator and a fascist dictator, and you lose your rights. And now, what do you have in Canada? Is you have? I'm not saying he's a dictator, but my point is, you have a person, a people. A government.
I think he's running for dictator, though. That's what he's trying. That's what he's moving toward.
You have a government. Let's go back to white. But you have the Canadian government wants to have assisted, put people to death. The government's going to pay for it. The doctors are going to do it. If you have quote unquote mental illness,
right?
And it's this is what's next, Jeremy. If you're we don't like your politics or you're I don't know.
That's the scare. That's the big scare. Yeah. So it starts off simple like this, but as you saw that guy say about the Nazis and Hitler and all that, it didn't end that innocently.
No.
They actually started, well, you know what? We got rid of them.
Yes.
There's some others that we could get rid of as well, just as easily, and nobody's going to say.
Well, they had to
say boo.
It's not. Yeah, they don't say boo. And they had the infrastructure. They had the clinics. They had the doctors. So there's a couple movies out there. If you want to go look in some of the movies from the 30s, like in the United States, there's one called Ship of Fools. There's another one. I can't think of the name of it. Yeah. There's another one where he's a journalist and he's in Nazi Germany. And this is before we had the war, but Hitler was raging on. And there's a spot there where he's in the clinic and they put him. He was sending information back to the United States. So they locked him up. The Nazi government locked him up and put him in one of his camps, and they were going to euthanize him. They were just going to basically, get rid of him. And he got out and everything. But this was a reality, and people knew about it. It was, and the United States was buying into this. We had a program in the United States. It was called eugenics or eugenics, and it was basically, if you were born with a deformity or you were an undesirable, they sterilized you, forcibly sterilized you. So if you're schizophrenic,
these are old words on my list.
But my point is, we're going
people of no value, undesirable.
Yes.
I mean, that's almost close to what Hillary calls us, a
deplorables.
Basket of deplorables.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on.
Well, look what Biden's calling MAGA people. My point is,
no, you're right. You're right.
You're going
a direct threat to democracy. So just having a belief that's contrary to those in power, we got to watch out for the powers we give them now, because they sound simple, but down the road they can be twisted and abused like everything else.
Yes. You're absolutely right, Jeremy. You hit it.
I'm on fire.
You're on fire. And the thing is, we're gonna end this. We're gonna go on to the next topic. But I just want to say this: history repeats itself, and we talk about looking at history. You talk about.
We don't have these sayings lightly either.
Why
we've had things blow up in our face before.
But I love when people say, "Oh, you're democracy." Well, what Canada's following is Nazi Germany, the socialist.
Yeah, that's not
Workers'
democracy
Party
anymore. Anyway.
They'll say this.
No, because he's trying to get it so they can keep him in power outside his normal term lengths. That's not democracy.
What happened in Germany.
Communism.
So what happened in Germany is they had this entity where they were knocking off people who were born with deformity or mentally ill, and then they went after their political rivals and put them in the system. That's what happened with Stalin and the gulags.
That's not just say somebody running for an office or something. We're talking about reporters. We're talking about anybody speaking up against those in power. You went missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now in that's Nazi Germany, but that's Russia. Yeah. That's China. They put you in a re-education camp. That was in Cambodia, in the killing fields. They killed 4 million Cambodians. Khmer Rouge.
Just so people are, they know the difference. What's the difference between what Canada's trying to do, and someone like Dr. Kevorkian.
Well, it's the government. He's one individual.
He was one individual trying to help people who were in pain and suffering. Also, I wanted to say what happened after World War II with the Nuremberg trials and what they put into place. So these things could never happen again. Why are they happening now?
Yeah, well, good question, Jeremy.
Because these are like the universal world laws.
Good question, Jeremy.
Against this.
Good question. You know why, Jeremy? You know what?
But just like our Constitution, they're being forgotten.
Yeah. Jeremy, you know.
Fireman.
I know. So let's move on to the next thing because I want to. Whoa! Get me out. Don't go to me. Go to me. Stay with me. Don't go there yet. I'm sorry. So here we are right now. So the next thing we're going to talk about is we're on the whiteboard. We're going to talk about drugs. I'm going to go a little bit different here. This has been an issue that we've been talking about for years. This country, drugs are exploding. People are dying left and right. And there's one drug that's coming back. We talked about that tranquilizer drug that started in Philly and is going all across the country. And we got the open border. Now they're talking about, by the way, about 20. They're talking to CDC. Is talking about 18,000 a day. They're predicting that coming over the border, and these people with that is coming a lot of drugs. Now, follow me on this one, Jeremy. They're bringing fentanyl. They're bringing all kinds of drugs, and it's spiking. And I want to talk about two different things. I want to go back to this one drug that has resurfaced. But I want to talk about this one thing which is really sad, and this was in Colorado. And it's just I watched this, and this really was a weird thing. This was an article here. So let's go to the video here to the thing. So here it is. Let me just get this out of here. Hang on, Jeremy. Give me a minute here. Let me get this article. Let me pull it up. I'm sorry. Okay. So this is in Colorado, and this is typify of this is from the Washington Post, okay? And I don't know if we're going to get it. We may not get this here. So.
Yeah, sometimes they throw this up and you can't see.
Yeah. So
they're going to want you to pay.
Hang on. So let me just go right here. I could look at the thing here. So just put it here. This is an article I want people to read. So it says right here, 5 down in apartment 307. That was the call. Mass fentanyl death test the Colorado prosecutor. So what it was, they got a call to the house, and it was 5 individuals. And basically what they did is they were going to have a night of partying. They had alcohol, they had pot, and they had cocaine that they thought they had, and they were going to party. And they were all fairly young, in their 30s. And the cocaine was tainted with fentanyl.
Oh, Jesus.
And they all died. There was one woman still alive, and there was a baby in the other room. So thank God somebody went in. The baby was left alone for 12 hours. These people laid there dead for 12 hours. The other lady was in semi-conscious, and they came in. And you read the article, and there's a couple things. The premise of the article was that the prosecutor is going to try to deal with this. Good luck. I mean, you got the open border. The stuff's coming in. Here's the other thing. There's a lot of things here. There's going to be probably 120, 130,000 people in the United States are going to die of overdose, have been or will this past year die of drug overdoses. That's terrible, and we're not. And one of the reasons it's spiking up is the open borders. But every drug now is being spiked with this fentanyl. You cannot touch a drug, and you say to yourself, "What are these people doing?" I want to make a point, and I tell you, I was just in Jamaica not too long ago. I went there for a wedding, and I was with a bunch of people. And all different ages. And in Jamaica, these guys walk up and down, sell drugs. And the people that I was with and other people were buying drugs left and right.
Really?
Yeah, they're American citizens. And then I stayed at the hotel I stayed at. The security guard, every day he'd ask me. He goes, "Hey, you want me to get you some drugs?" I go, "I don't do drugs, sir." And he kept on asking me. I said, "Listen, stop friggin' asking me."
He doesn't remember your face, but
I said, "I'm not." I said, "What?" I said, "What?" Because I'm an American, And he goes, "Yeah." You want a prostitute? You want this? We have an appetite. We are part of the friggin' problem.
Yeah, but was the appetite given to us. It's only because of hold on a second. It's only because of availability.
Yes,
do
you're
we
right.
have
now,
these
crutches? Yes,
yeah.
Okay. Having said that,
Yeah.
I agree with you. So let's talk. Let's hold that thought.
Okay.
Why are we doing it? Let's go. Let me get another one up here. Hang on a second. Let me get you. You made a good point. You're always a lot of times one step ahead of me, which I love. Let me just go here. So let me see if I could bring this one up. And they got me boxed in here, Jeremy. You know, let's see if this comes through. So now, back in the day, there was a drug. All right, you could put it up here. Put my thing up. So this is called GHB. So people are talking about GHB in clubs. Experts say we're not paying enough attention. This was a drug in the clubs years ago. Okay, and just to give you, it's in the club or a party. GHB makes its entrance. It arrived in a small vial, it may be paired with a dropper, and it's poured into a drink, something sweet like lemonade. G is popular enough among some on the party scene for the initial. So basically what it does, it makes you feel euphoric, promiscuous. They used to call it the date rape drug.
Date rape drug, yeah.
Yeah, and it says gained attention for being linked to a number of rapes and deaths. So let me get this out of here. I don't want to see this guy here. So experts say GHB deserves more of our attention and caution. And what's happening here, it's addictive, and it's used with a lot of other drugs. So what is GHB? So this is gamma hydroxybutyrate acid, also known, AKA sodium oxybutate. Okay, the drug can be prescribed for medical use as a means to treat daytime sleepiness and muscle weakness associated with neurolepsy, but it's so people were taking it. Now, in the 1990s, men who wanted to bulk up score, GHB in gyms. It was used for a lot of different things, but it really came about in the nightclubs. And what's happening now is people are using this with crystal meth. And that's the thing here. It's big problem here. I'm just going through. This is a great article. I want people to read this. And this guy says Palmer used to go clubbing all the time 20 years ago in New York. He's straight but favored gay clubs, music selections. And that's where he first noted GHB. And I don't know if it was predominantly in gay clubs or not. I mean, I know it was all over the place. I don't think it had anything to do with just that.
Well, you knew they were gonna factor something in on that because at the very top it said LGBTQ issues.
So here it says, today the majority of GHB use is recreational, meaning people administer the drug to themselves to get high. In doing so, users may build up a tolerance quickly, so they'll up their drugs or combine GHB with other drugs. Yeah. Again, it's down. It's a gateway drug.
Have degrees in pharmacy and stuff. They know just how much they can give themselves. Oh no, they don't. They died. Look at that.
Yeah. And it says here, GHB with sexual abuse,
death.
And has long been associated with sexual activity. I just want to make a point here. We are.
Is there like a flag list for chemicals that you can and cannot have? Like where you can mix it to create something like this in your basement? I mean, wasn't that what that Breaking Bad was all about? That science teacher that started making what do you make crystal meth in his basement? I mean, there's got to be restrictions for certain chemicals, and
it's coming. I don't think it's coming over the border, Jeremy. You can buy it.
If we didn't have this availability, if we didn't open up our borders and allow this stuff to come flooding in. Would we have the problems and issues that we do as people? Because we are flawed. We're human. To err is human, and there's no list of how much we can err. We can err in so many different ways, but it's all still being human. So we're f ups if we allow ourselves to be, and if you give us the availability of stuff to screw ourselves up more, we're gonna grab that, And that's so upsetting. But we got to do more. We got to cut down this. We got to see what's coming across.
Stop banging the table.
Sorry, I'm not banging the table again. So we have seen down at the border investigations where they're stopping people from sneaking across in other ways, and then they have this great guy from the helicopter. He can spot just what looks like a pile of dirt to you up there. He's like, no, that's a drug stash. They land the helicopter, they go out, and sure enough, they're pulling out drugs out of these little
But you have to understand,
burrows,
Jeremy.
you wouldn't believe.
But here's the thing. That's all good and well, but you have to understand the administration right now and a lot of people in the United States want open borders. They want all these people in.
My point in saying all that was,
and it doesn't matter if all this comes along with it.
If they have guys like him searching elsewhere for this stuff,
they're not going to.
How much is coming across the borders?
Tons. And
we're just letting it.
Yeah, because the lesser of two evils. Yeah. The government, the administration right now, and a lot of NGOs, a lot of, even the Catholic Church, a lot of people want these people in the country. They have, they think it's going to be good. So you have a huge influx. It's going to get even worse. They're predicting now, this is in the CDC and the intelligence community, 18,000 a day. And it'll start, another week or two. They're still fighting in court with this stay in Mexico. And what they're going to do is they're giving everybody asylum, which is bull crap. This is economic asylum. These people are coming out, and it's going to flood the market with more drugs. It's going to impact the hospitals and the facilities, your schools. But so why, you made a good point. Let's just go back to what you said. You said, I said people are getting weak. Is there a concerted effort to let this happen? We talk about these conspiracy theories. So let's go to something. So go back to my video here. Go back. Okay. We're going to talk about something. And this is just an interesting perspective. So there's a book out. Okay, this was done. This is a novel. This is called Brave New World. Right. Predicted today's world better than any other novel. Now, people know about George Orwell and 1994, right, and all of that. Yeah. An Animal Farm. But this is a 1931 novel, predict modern life almost to a Model T. While other dystopias get more press, Brave New World offers us a nightmare world that we've moved steadily towards over the last century. Author Aldous Huxley idea on a light-handed totalitarian dictatorship stand in marked contrast to the popular image of dictatorships that rely on force. So I'm just going to go down here. This is a great. You should read this Brave New.
This was the Huxley guy you were telling me about.
Right. So here's listen to this. This is what this is. This description for those who haven't read it. Brave New World is the description of a nightmare society where everybody is perfectly happy all the time. This is assured through destroying the free will of most of the population using genetic engineering. And
Pavlovian
conditioning, keeping everybody entertained continuously with endless distractions and offering a plentiful supply of wonder drug, they call it soma, to keep people happy if all else fails. What does that sound like, Jeremy? Does that sound like today?
Yeah.
And then the world state is a dictatorship which strives to assure order. The dictatorship is managed by 10 oligarchs who rely on the extensive bureaucracy to keep the world running. Deep state in the United States, maybe, the executive branch, under the executive branch. I'm just saying, drugs all over the place, promiscuity, let everybody do whatever they want to do. The typical person is conditioned to love their subservience and either be proud of the viral work they do or be relieved that they don't have to worry about the problems of the world. Global stability is ensured through the Fordist religion, which is based on the teachings of Henry Ford and Sigmund Freud and involved the worship of both men. The tenets of the faith encourage mass consumerism, sexual promiscuity, avoiding unhappiness at all costs. The assembly line is praised as though it were a gift from God. Now, Huxley's dystopia is especially terrifying in that the enslaved population absolutely loves their slavery. Even the characters who are smart enough to know that it's going on and why they should be concerned are instead content with everything is that it's happening. Perhaps more terrifying than other dystopian novels, in Brave New World, there is truly no hope for change.
Yeah, me and Mike were talking about something like this before the show, and we were talking about how
so let me just so this is cool.
They can brainwash you and make you love what they're trying to force feed you.
This is his.
And you're okay with it,
right? I think that the government, whoever it is, they are so sharp that they could persuade us to believe that blue is red.
Yeah.
When you start telling me that a man with his penis and scrotum is a woman and could have a baby. It's gone. We lost it. This is, you could sell, this is basically selling ice to an Eskimo. I mean, and this is Huxley. It wasn't George Orwell where they're going to take over by force. They're going to take over by collusion, getting us so drugged up. I mean, look at where we are in this society. And God forbid, you have any pain. We're trying to make everything so wonderful, which is a great aspiration, but life is hard. Like with the military, they can't get enough people in the military. The kids who are going, it's too stressful.
The way they're trying to make the world so wonderful is by making the rest of the world believe what they are believing, and that's where so you can have it your way, and that we have to believe whatever you believe, but you can't believe whatever we believe. See, there it is, and you're the minority in all of this. We have an established country with established rules and laws and established sciences that we have taught our children for generations, and now it's the year 2000, and forward, and boys can have a vagina,
right?
They can have a womb where they can gestate a fetus, and in 9 months give birth to it. That's insane. Even that guy, Mulvaney, that guy, right? He had a post he put up on his TikTok or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, I had a conversation with my dad the other day, and I told him, Dad, I think I'm attracted to women now rather than men."
Right.
And he says, "Oh, thank God for that." He's like, "Now maybe I can start thinking about getting a grandson or a granddaughter." And he says, "Yeah, Dad, but it's not coming out of her vagina. It'll be coming out of my vagina."
Right.
And it's just like, all right, now are you having us on, or are you really serious about these statements you're making?
So go back. Go back to this. I want to keep hitting this novel here because it's like right on. So when human assembly line described in the first part of the story is still a far-off fantasy, the basic concept that makes it work are already here. Today, people make choices to influence the genetic makeup of their children. This is interesting right here. Postnatal screening has created the ability for many parents to decide if they wish to carry a disabled fetus to term or not. In Iceland, this has resulted in near eradication of new cases of Down syndrome in the country. Almost 100% of detected cases lead to an abortion shortly after. I'm going to make a point about that. Remember we talked about that last week? So there was a lawsuit in UK, and Down syndrome people sued the government because they said you could have an abortion. There's you could have abortion up to 15 weeks, but if you want to have it after that, it has to be for a medical reason. And the medical reason now, the government said, oh, you can have an abortion up to 9 months if it's a Down syndrome baby. And people who are Down syndrome took a homage to that, saying, well, why? What's wrong with us? You're telling us that we're not.
So they should, and I'll tell you why.
No, okay? wait. They should what? They should take homage. And you know what the UK government? Yeah. You know what the UK? They voted against it. They said, no, tough luck. If you're Down syndrome and you're 8 months pregnant, you could get an abortion.
Let me tell you how wrong this is.
So go ahead.
Let me tell you how. Fundamentally wrong this is, and it goes against everything they've been saying up until now.
Right.
If you're looking at a fetus and you're looking for a human condition, okay, a human condition like Down syndrome, okay, to trigger the fact that you want to give this baby an abortion,
right?
You're already deciding that baby is human, right? So all of your arguments, that baby's not human until it's born. I mean, like the hypocrisy is like fucking deep.
Well, this is why we try to point. So
all I can think about is that 100% of Down syndrome babies, those poor little babies, those innocent little babies.
Yeah.
And you just wipe them, erase them away, like they didn't even matter.
What they'll say with the component, the other side will say, well, that's tough to support those people. But I understand.
Because who mourns those little babies?
So let's go to the next thing here. Let me go over here. So above examples suggest we're open to soft eugenics already. Imagine what would happen if people could determine their child's potential IQ before birth or how rebellious they will be as a teenager. It would be difficult to suggest that the development of such technology would not be hailed as progress by those who could afford it to use it. Huxley's vision of genetically perfect upper class caste might be available soon. And so it's an amazing how you go here. This is I like this one. Brave New World enjoys endless distractions between hours at work. Various complex games have been invented. Movies now engage all 5 senses, and there are even televisions at the feet of deathbeds. Nobody ever has to worry about being bored for long. The idea of enjoying solitude is taboo, and most people go out to parties every night.
This is coming from the book?
Well, no, this is what, but a little bit.
This is the Brave New World, the book said was going to come.
Right. They're talking about, but they're saying this is what's happening now. In a modern society, most people generally don't go
because it's scary how exact this is.
But don't go 30 minutes without wanting to check their iPhones. And we have, just as Huxley predicted, made it possible to abolish boredom and time for spare thoughts no matter where you are. This is already having measurable effects on our mental health and brain structure. Huxley wasn't warning us against watching TV or going to the movies occasionally. He said in his interviews with Mike Wallace that TV can be harmless, but rather against the contrast barrage of distraction becoming more important in our lives than facing the problems that affect us. Given how stressful people find the idea of a tech-free day and how we take our pop culture so seriously, that it was targeted for us by Russian bots, he might have been onto something. My point is that
no, he was onto something because like before television, what did we have? We had theater. Right. That's something we'd have to go to.
Right.
It wasn't all the time though. Or we had books, and we could disappear into a novel. But now you don't get that break in between.
No.
Like, we're going to go to the theater next Thursday, honey. Are you okay? Yeah, but that's still a week and a bit away.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. This is now a world where we have fixed our people to have a 5-second attention span, thanks to China and their TikTok. Okay, where we can watch one idiotic thing after another. It only takes 5 seconds. Not going to take too much out of your day, Mike. That's just 5 seconds at a time, right? And it's the absolute biggest nonsense you've ever. My wife before she goes to sleep every night, she's flipping through TikTok, and I'm listening to the shit that she's listening to, and I'm like, how are you able to watch that and still leave this bedroom as a human being? With thoughts, and it's so mind numbing, and that's the whole purpose of it. I know that.
Right. So and
that's what Huxley was saying.
Right.
That's the whole purpose. It's mind numbing,
right?
And it creates a docile people.
Yeah. Right. So while it seems odd to say that we are moving towards Brave New World in this era, when official policy is opposed to drug use, really is not anymore. Remember, we talked about the federal government right now. Their position is no drugs, not NO drugs, but KNOW. Yeah. Huxley would suggest we consider
we had more simpler language back in the day. We just simply said, don't do drugs. It was direct, it was to the point, and there was no way to mistake our intentions.
But now, and then Huxley would suggest we consider it a blessing, since a dictatorship that encouraged drug use to zonk out our population would be a powerful, if light-handed one. While today we have a war on drugs, which really, I don't know if we do anymore, it is not at all drugs. It's antidepressants, a powerful tool for treatment of mental illness, are so popular that 1 in 8 Americans are on them right now. This doesn't include the large number of Americans on tranquilizers, anti-anxiety medications, or those who self-medicate with alcohol, or increasingly legal marijuana. Marijuana now is legal in New Jersey. If you're under 21, you could smoke it anywhere, anytime. Parents will not be advised about it, and you can only get a warning. That's the state of New Jersey. That's the law. Again, let me repeat that. If you're under 21, you could smoke marijuana. If you're under 16, I believe they may, if the cop does catch you smoking, and you can smoke it in public, you can be anywhere you want, they are still not going to tell your parent. They could maybe push you towards drug rehabilitation. But it's open-ended. We're encouraging it. Come on. These drugs aren't quite soma, but they bear a striking resemblance to its function and use. And in the book, the stability of the world state is partly based on total employment.
Total employment.
Right. But here's the thing, though. What this really book points out is that it's a subtle. It's not like where they come in with like the stormtroopers. This is a subtle. Yeah. Subtle.
Like I said just before, like it makes the what's really happening is it's making our people docile. So these aren't people who are looking for full employment. These are people who are looking to stay at home and get paid anyway. In some manner or another. And all of these things that are put into place, this 5-second TikTok show or Facebook or Twitter. I mean, I was bad about Twitter when everybody's typing a running dialogue of absolutely every little thing they're doing.
Right.
Like they get so bogged down in the minutia of their humdrum everyday nonsense lives, like stuff that you wouldn't tell anybody because it's not interesting, ends up on Twitter or TikTok. They'll make a TikTok video about something absolutely ridiculous, but it gives the rest of us a 5-second thing where we're going to de-evolve into a people who don't want to work, don't want to be, model citizens in our society, or add any kind of, influence to our already dulling, citizenship. It's sad. It really is.
Now, so listen, let me go over here. So this is an interesting thing here. This is a quote from the book. The relentless fascination with quantities of subject feeling can only possibly divert critical attention away from broader political and economic problems. So that's an interesting thing. And if you go over here, so today, this is recap. We have a higher concentration of wealth and power than ever before. In the United States, the top 1% are richer than ever. 6 corporations control 90% of the media. The power of undemocratic institutions such as corporations, Byzantine bureaucracies, and deep state, Department of Education, Department of EPA, all of that, are greater than ever before. Many Americans choose not to vote and have the same influence on their government that they would if they had no right to vote. So that's an interesting, and this is, they talked about 1984, the same outcome.
Yeah.
Huxley
books like Huxley's, and in 1984, I mean, they were predicting a possible evolution of our society and our people, and it becomes so true when we really take a step back from ourselves and all the crap that we fill our brains with, and we really see just how bad we are. Like, we're getting to the point where we don't feel like doing this, or our what do you call it? Our feelings get hurt for the slightest things, and are they really? We become this crybaby world where if you don't believe what I like, or you speak a truth that differs from mine, I'm gonna be so upset. I'm gonna go start crying until somebody listens to me and changes it because I didn't like it.
Right.
These people are getting to a point where I'm done. I'm just going to ramble on because it's so.
Well, listen to this. Let me finish up with this. This is the last thing because you're getting too fired up. So here's go.
Fired up.
So Huxley's Brave New World was a prediction of a nightmare he thought would be safe from at least a few hundred years when he wrote it in 1939. Yeah. By 1958, he realized he had been very optimistic. While we weren't entirely doomed to the pleasant slavery he envisioned. Slavery.
Slavery.
Slavery. That's a great word. Yeah. He envisions quite yet. The march of progress continues to bring us the tools which make it even simpler to enact. If we will make the choices needed to avoid it, or if we will willingly cry out to be saved from our freedoms, remains to be answered. And this is an interesting thing. You could
march of degradation.
You could go. Put me out of here.
Yeah.
And so, Jeremy, what you're looking at here, is both of these individuals, George Orwell and Huxley, talked about. A lot of people say, "Oh, this is populism, and it's bad." Where if you look at the Roman Empire, okay, it lasted 1,000 years, and what brought the Roman Empire down was from within. And I've read about the Roman Empire to rise and fall many times, and I studied it in college. And here's the deal. My understanding was that, the army was never allowed into the gates of Rome. But you had what's called the Praetorian Guard. These were elite troops that guarded the Caesar.
Yeah.
You had a Senate, you had a level of democracy and reputational government. But what happened over time is that the Praetorian Guard took over, and you could buy it. You could be a Caesar. You could pay for it. I mean, it became so corrupt, and they did what they want to do, and of course it all fell apart. And it took several hundred years.
Because in the end, it was all for individuals and not for the people.
Right,
and that's why
you had oligarchs.
Yeah,
you had what's happening now in the United States. And I don't want to say
but it's very similar. It is very similar because most of the politicians we have are running on topics that will only keep them in office. It's not actual topics that they believe in, because you can look back to past interviews where you see that they're like so wrong. Like just Joe Biden. Go on YouTube and see what he used to talk about when he was a senator and compare it to today. That's the type of people you end up with.
Well, I think what it is if you look at it from a big, step way far away.
Sure.
And look at all this history we're talking about, is that you have in this country, the founding fathers, we started with colonies. And they said, we're sovereign. Individuals, the individuals said, we're the ones who, power comes from. And we're going to give it to the states. And then they broke away from England. They formed a country. And then the federal government, the states gave the federal government power. Yeah. But it all comes from the idea that it comes from the citizens, and the citizens now are the ones who just make the decisions. What's happened now is the government, when I say the government specifically, Congress could be voted in and out, Senate could go in and out, even though they're pretty powerful, and the president, the judicial, but you have in the executive branch a huge bureaucracy, the administrative state. What MacArthur called Eisenhower warned us about the industrial military complex. Remember that? Right. And what's happening is, I'm very sure there's a ton of very well-meaning people, but these are non-elective bureaucrats who are running this country. And they're probably doing it and saying, hey, listen, we're doing it for your best interest. And maybe that's the case. Maybe, and I'm very sure with Trump, that was an assassination. But they probably, a lot of people say, listen, he was bad for this country. Whatever. My point is, we're going down a road that I think is...
The fact that something like that could happen to the the most powerful man in the free world is frightening.
Right. And if you really look at it now, Trump really, he tried to do the best he could, but they never gave him a chance. He was undermined by the Department of Labor, the Department, the FDA.
And put yourself in those shoes. Put yourself in those shoes. You want to do the best for your country. You just got into the office, and everybody's throwing up roadblocks. They're talking to you about you like you're a piece of crap.
But Jeremy, step away from that. Forget about Trump, the individual. Just when
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you put yourself in his shoes.
But forget. But let me make a point. No. Listen.
Go ahead.
The bigger problem here is that it could be Trump. It could be Doug Paris. It could be anybody.
Or anybody.
But when the president of the United States his power is being reduced by the people below him, the executive branch, the administrative states, is that what we really want? Is that good? And
that's exactly what I was
getting to. When you talk about loss of democracy, you could take the administrative state and look at it as a giant dictator. And they're running the show. And now, are they? Now you have states, so the states could rebel, and so it's a complicated dance. But what I see going on in the past 50, 60 years, whatever, is that, and I think this really came about when Reagan went out, and then Bush, Cheney, they got they took a lot of power away from the Congress and put it into the executive branch below the president. I don't think they thought they'd ever lose control of it. Again, it's complicated stuff, and I don't know everything. But what I'm saying is right now is, from a general philosophy, we're going down a road where it could all tumble and fall apart. We have massive drug overdoses. We have people who are, committing suicide left and right. We have violence in the city.
Crime.
We have loss of morality. In the state of New Jersey, you can have an abortion at 9 months. Your children are being, could smoke pot without the parents knowing. They can have an abortion at 12 years old, the parents not knowing.
Zero tolerance toward our fellow man.
You got Canada talking about orphan people who are mentally ill. On and on and on and on. And I'm just sitting here going, people, look at we've been down this road before. The world has gone this way before.
Canadians are going to be living in fear of a rainy day. You know that, right?
Well, let me go back to okay. Let's talk. One more thing, okay?
Right.
Let's end that. That's a sobering fact. We have to start. I'm telling you, we're going to have a Christmas show here. We're going to talk about nice things. Let me just go one more thing, okay?
Okay.
Because I have a bug up my ass about this. So now we're talking about just so on the board here. It says guns, health problem. Are guns a health problem? Mary talked about it. Now, let me give you a premise on this. So we're going to talk about, and this will be our last thing we talk about. Don't go to my, just go to me.
Just go to you?
Yeah. No, not yet. Yeah. So here's the deal. The Supreme Court passed, it was a ruling, I don't know, several months ago. It was a lawsuit brought out by New York, and it was a New York Rifle Association. Basically, the lawsuit was about whether or not you could carry a concealed, a handgun on your person for your defense. Right. You understand that? Mm-hmm. You understand that? And Thomas, Justice Thomas, Justice Thomas wrote. He was, the lead on that, and he wrote a very eloquent.
He's really good. He's really good. Yeah.
And just for people who are listening here, he's a black man, and he said basically he cited the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, but it's not even right. It's not a right. It's saying that the government should not infringe that. Right. Implying that you had that right, you're God given. You have it. They're not giving it to you. They're just saying the government won't get in the way of that.
It's also number 2 on the list, right?
And then the other amendment he looked at was was one that was enacted right after the Civil War, and it was a slave. I call it a slave amendment. It was the 14th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment says, you have the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Life. And this was to say, to refresh your memory, 13th Amendment, you're a black person, you could vote. 14th Amendment, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I think the 15th, no, wait, the 13th was free to slaves. You're not, there's no slavery anymore. Right. And then the 14th was
emancipation.
Right, you're under the law. Everybody's equal, and everybody's in this country, irrespective of race, color, whatever. You have the right to live life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And then, of course, the black vote. And that's amazing. So what Thomas did is say, hey, this is it. This is the law of the land. The way I interpret it, the Second Amendment and the 14th Amendment. You got to let people carry a gun if they want to carry. Yeah. Now, the states.
Now, what do you define in the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Pursuit of property.
Life is what I'm talking about.
What's life? You got to be.
What do you mean by that?
You have a right to live. You have a right to live.
Yeah, unhindered. You're allowed to live.
No, wait.
No, but when I say that, I mean you're allowed to live without anybody saying you can't.
No, stop. No, it says. Let me make a good point. Let me back off.
Yeah.
It says life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Life means that the way it's interpreted is that you have the right to live. I don't have the right to take your life. Nobody has the right to take your life away from you. Right. You understand that?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Right. No, so that means you need to be able to defend yourself.
Right.
If I come at you with a crowbar or an a AR-15, right, you ain't gonna. You should be able to have an AR-15 to protect yourself.
And I refer the rest of you
That's
to
life.
Number 2.
Now the other part there, liberty is a different thing. Liberty, if you look at the word liberty, and a lot of people use democracy, but liberty is that you have the ability to do what you want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. You have the liberty to do things. You could go fishing, swimming. Be a bird watcher, the liberty. And you could define it. I don't know. You could go into the dictionary, but that's an important thing. So that's a little different. You don't have the right to kill somebody, and you have the right to live. So in other words, if somebody's, your life is at jeopardy, you have then the right to defend yourself, which is an interesting thing. I was reading this one article, I think it was Carly B or whatever. She's like, nobody should have a gun. Nobody should be able to shoot somebody unless if they're unarmed. And so somebody wrote an article saying, well, what if there's a 250-pound guy raping you, beating you up, pummling your face, breaking your nose, ripping your clothes off, and trying to rape you. Now, if you had a gun, would you shoot him? And should you be able to shoot him? And
my policy is I shoot the son of a bitch.
Jeremy.
That was Dirty Harry.
That's Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
So my point is
if I see a naked man with a heart on and a knife chasing after a woman, I shoot the son of a bitch.
Right,
That's my policy.
Let's just. But let me finish this. So let's finish this thought process here. So that was the ruling. Now the state of New Jersey comes out and they're having legislation right now.
Yeah.
And so in New Jersey, you have the House and the Senate in New Jersey. So the House basically is passing a bill,
right?
And they're calling it common sense. And again, I understand where these guys are coming from, but let me just point what they're saying is, they're saying that you need to get training. Okay, you need to take training. You got to $200 for a permit. You have to have insurance. I guess I don't know what kind of insurance. I guess medical insurance. I don't know what. And but the other thing is, they're limiting it where you could carry that gun to like almost nowhere. So they're not, in my opinion.
So do you really have the freedom and the license is denoting?
No. The other thing is, like in Florida, you can stand your own ground, and there's a lot of other laws that need to be enacted for the spirit of the law to be held. Now, listen to what I'm saying. The spirit of the law.
Yeah.
So now the Supreme Court justice, and you could read it. It's very, very clear to me that what they're saying is you have to let your people, the people of the United States, carry a gun if they want it, if they're legal, if they,
if it's legal, they got a license, everything.
I was listening to the people in the House, New Jersey, and they're saying a couple things. One was like this. One guy said, "Do you really want?" I watched this. I mean, you could Google it. He goes, "Do you want everybody up in Newark, Patterson, Trenton to be carrying a gun?" And so people who don't know New Jersey, that's predominantly black, poor locations.
Right.
And he is saying, do you really want those areas to have guns? Well, why not? I mean, those people are American citizens, and if they, qualify, if they're not crazy, they should be able to handle a gun. The other thing he said, too, which was really interesting, he goes, do you want to have a bunch of guns at MetLife Stadium, And I sit there and I'm like, I haven't been there for a while, but I have friends who go there. You go to the stadium, probably about 40% of people up, maybe you're black, Yeah. So, I mean, what? So now I said, well, maybe he's being nice, and it makes sense. We have the most densely populated states, and do we want all these people to have guns? And you know what? So I went back and I'm like, you know what? Let me just see what New Jersey's history is, okay? Sure. So just hang on. Don't go to me. And I just want to make a point here about the Constitution. And let me just go here, Jeremy. You're gonna give me 1 second. So don't pull me up yet. I just want to show something. And this is an interesting thing, because this is, again, the state of New Jersey is basically, in my opinion, giving not a finger. What's the word I want to use? Basically telling the Supreme Court,
go scratch.
Go scratch. It's not. I don't care about this. The safety is not the issue here. It's not a safety. The issue is the Supreme Court made a decision. The Supreme Court of the land. And they're citing the 14th and Second Amendment.
Right.
And that you got to give people in this country respect and honor their amendments.
Right.
What's different? So I said to myself, okay, what happened when the 15th Amendment came down? Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and the 13th Amendment, free to slaves, and the 15th Amendment to give the blacks a vote. I look here, and I'm looking at New Jersey. Let me just find you here. So go to my thing here. This is interesting. Now, New Jersey. So I noticed, and I read this, and so here, listen to this. February 15th, 1871. The remaining 7 states all subsequently ratified the amendment. New Jersey, February 15th, 71, after rejecting it March of 70. So basically, what happened is that the 15th Amendment, right? And there's other amendments too, the 13th, 14th. The state of New Jersey didn't vote for it. They knocked it down initially.
Right.
They knocked it down. Why? And then they had to get sued, and then the following year, they finally voted for it. New Jersey has a terrible track record, and it's Democrats, and they're doing the same thing again. the Supreme Court, and this was an amendment. They poo-pooed an amendment. You understand what I'm saying, Jeremy? You understand the point here?
Oh, yeah.
So forget about, I understand it's safety issues, but you know what? I'm sorry. I could see that back in 1871, the state legislators in New Jersey going, whoa, hey, safety issues. You want all those blacks carrying, because if they become a citizen, if they are voting and they could carry guns and no slavery is no more, and, safety. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not talking. It's the same thing. You may not like what the Supreme Court decides. Some people don't like the idea that there's gay marriage, or whatever. There's abortion. But my point is that we have to compromise. We live in a country where we all have to live together. Yeah. And we have the Second Amendment and the 14th Amendment. Now, if New Jersey doesn't like what the judges interpret the Second Amendment, 14th Amendment, then change the amendment. But don't trash on the citizens of New Jersey's constitutional right. Right. And that's what they're doing. Do you understand? Am I clear on that?
I get you.
And that's where I'm saying, so forget about this argument about no, it's an argument of, are you following the Constitution? Now, they did this in New York, the same thing, and I think they got shot down. It's probably going to go, eventually it's going to run through the courts. It might be a year, it might be 2. But unless the Supreme Court, unless they try to pack the Supreme Court made a decision. And this is going to be the law of the land. It is the law of the land. And I tell you, it's the 14th Amendment and the Second Amendment. My point being is, we've been down this road before, and I think people should step back a little bit. And I understand there might be more deaths. He said there might be more deaths. Yeah, the girl who got raped last week and got beat to a pulp, and the guy ran away. There was no death there. There's no deaths, but she's severely injured, and maybe she'll never get over it. Yeah, if she had a gun, he would have been dead. And then so there's a fatality. So I understand that there may be more deaths, but the other side of the coin is we have the United States is built on the Constitution and laws, and we need to follow them all across the board. Anyway, so what do you want to say? Anything?
No. I mean, me personally, I refer you all to the Purge movies. Okay, I say we have one night a year where we hand everybody a gun. We give them out in church, and then by sunrise the next day, whoever's left standing becomes the ruling class. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Well, I just think it's interesting that when he's this is an amendment to the Constitution came out. There was a lot of pushback on it, in different states. Yeah. And so this thing is nothing different. It's funny how New Jersey pushed back and New York. Now they're using the premise of safety, and I understand that. But the other side of the coin is everybody, when they were having these midterm elections, or when they were talking about President Trump, everybody's like, democracy. Well, you're trashing right now on the Constitution. And is that not subverting democracy?
I mean, they used to say,
is that not subverting democracy?
Yeah. They were saying, that we were direct and present danger to democracy and all of that. I'm just saying, like, how come you keep telling us that we don't understand democracy? I feel like they don't understand it, and also I feel like that. What was the thing we were talking about just before that?
The drugs? Oh, Huxley.
Yeah, I mean, no, they keep saying, oh yeah, this is it. They keep telling us, you got to learn from history, or you're doomed to repeat it. And I think I've even said this on the show before. It's not us that need to learn it. I think most of us are, good, true Americans that are building families and having homes, and they have just everyday problems. I think they've all learned from history, because they're the ones that are right-minded, and they've created these families for themselves. It's the ones in power that aren't learning from history whatsoever.
No,
what they're doing is they're recreating lessons that we should have learned a long time ago.
Jeremy, I disagree with you on that.
You're telling me there's no correlation between Canada euthanizing and the Nazis.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, there is a correlation. What I'm saying is, you're saying that they're forgetting history and repeating it. I'm saying no, they know history,
and they're repeating it anyway.
They are going back at the apple. In other words, before Hitler, There was, Genghis Khan. You got to remember, this is the human condition. The communist, socialist, the dictatorship. That's easy to rule. Democracy, liberty, the Constitution. This is an experiment. This is hard. What we're doing in the United States, it's sloppy.
As
it's
an
hard.
American citizen, though, I feel like that they should have had a, they should realize that people like Genghis Khan, go on through history. We should have an understanding and an expectation that our government would be more.
Jeremy, the Praetorian Guard didn't think it would ever end.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Hitler and Gorbachev didn't think it was ever going to end.
Time. You would hope that we were more enlightened, where we wouldn't be making these same mistakes.
No, Jeremy, you go back in the Greeks and the Romans; they were very enlightened. They didn't have our technology; they were very smart.
So, what hope do we have?
Good question.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. What hope do we have?
Well,
we can come back in here week after week after week, and we can talk about this stuff, and we can hope that things will get better, but they're not, because then it gives us more stuff to talk about the next week.
Okay, so here's the deal, Jeremy.
If you believe,
so here's the thing.
I hope and I wish better from us.
Well, here's the thing. If you believe in Jesus Christ, you believe in God, then you have hope there.
Yes.
Okay. We may not make it. We have you right now.
Get back in the pews, baby. That's what I'm saying.
Putin said 3 days ago that if he sees any missiles coming over, he's going to unload on the United States.
Yeah, he keeps lording over that
but let me make
nuclear
a point, though.
threat.
We could, this world could end tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, and that's not talking about meteorites. My point is, I don't want to get everybody depressed because depressed enough. We have to look at things and say to ourselves, listen. It's a complicated world, but you have to have some morality, and life is tough. We if you believe in we bit the apple and we're put on this earth. It's a tough life. Yeah, and
it's a hard knock life.
Right. What is there? There's life. There's family and friends, and there's good stuff. People. I had patients the other day. The guy is multimillionaire, very wealthy, right? And he's been an alcoholic all his life, and he's coming in. He has now problems secondary to the alcohol. He's having difficulty walking and stuff like that. And we were talking, and he's and what happens is the doctors, they put him on Wellbutrin or Prozac, and there's a lot of people out there who are hurting, and it's tough. It's tough to put all this together. And I think in the government, what we're talking about is that you wanna try to make everybody play together in a sandbox. Mm-hmm. And I understand the legislatures in New Jersey; they're concerned because they don't want all these people with guns. I mean, they had the head of the state troopers in New Jersey. He says when he first became a trooper, there was a case where two guys got in a fight, a road rage thing, and then one guy went to his trunk and took out a who's that? Who we have somebody?
We got Diggs BTW7.
Right.
And he says, "Hey, what's up?"
Right. So say hello to him. So you have. He said that a guy pulled a gun out of his trunk, Jeremy, and shot the other guy. And maybe it wouldn't happen if he didn't have the gun. So you're going to get these situations where two people have a gun and they might cause a problem. But here's the thing: how many states have carry laws? Florida. Is there shoot ups all the time? No. People realize, and I think that. You have to step back and really, are you being biased or prejudiced against certain people? When that guy said to me, he said, listen, I'm concerned about the whole state. But when he picked out Trenton and Camden and, that was like, I don't think that's right. Now, Pennsylvania has carry law. I think in a city you can't carry unless you have a special permit. But here's the thing, let people carry. Test them.
He was looking at the crime rates, and that's what he was talking about. But unfortunately, it's just too easily, somebody's going to bring it up just because of the color in that region.
Listen, there's a lot of people who have guns already, and they're illegal. None of these guys talked about the illegal guns. Stop and frisk. My point is that I just wanted to make a point is that it was a decision by the judge, a Supreme Court justice, who's a very wise man. And he cited the Second and 14th Amendment. And New Jersey congressman said that it was a poor decision or a wrong decision. And again, okay, fine. I'm very sure in 1871, the legislators in New Jersey said the same thing. It was a bad decision. They made a mistake, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because then what they did is so what did they do in the states where you had black voters? They had the Jim Crow laws. What are they doing here in New Jersey? Is this is kin to Jim Crow laws? Yeah. You know, you can't carry a gun anywhere. You can't. My point is, Jeremy, we have to be careful with the slippery slope. Again, we're talking about all this stuff.
I'm not a gun guy, but I believe in the rights that we have, the right to bear arms for other, for people. I feel actually safer that guns are in the right hands if it's legally done and it's done right, and people can protect their homes and stuff. I feel good about that.
Well, let me ask you another question, Jeremy.
Go ahead.
Are you okay with a state, and this is, again, this could be on both sides of the aisle here, where you have a Supreme Court determination? See, they could throw it back at me. What happens if they pack the court now and put in 20 justices, and they're all like really to the left, and they come out and they abolish the Second Amendment, 14th Amendment, whatever? Are we going to abide by that?
Do we quietly abide by it? That's different. That's different from abiding. Do we quietly abide that?
My point is that right now we shouldn't pack the court. We shouldn't get rid of the filibuster. We shouldn't get rid of the electoral college. There's a lot of history, and my point is that we have to follow law, but we have to be very careful when we have these emotional decisions on law.
Right.
That's why it's good, though, because they're going to knock it down fine. There's going to be a lawsuit. It's probably going to be found unconstitutional. Eventually, it's going to work through the courts. It might be years, but eventually, I think the chief justices are going to, come out with the with the right decision. Anyway, so let's just recap here. So Canada assisted dying. They want to have the psychiatrist decide if you are crazy enough to be killed,
or if you're just depressed.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Jeremy.
Yeah.
There's a thing called Catch-22. There's a movie, Catch-22, right?
Yeah.
So the only way to get out of the military, right, you have to be crazy.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right? But if you want to stay in the military, if you want to stay and fight, it's crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah.
So the only way you could get out of the military is if you wanted to stay in the military.
Military.
Because if you wanted to get out, you're not crazy.
Military intelligence, the oxymoron.
So you understand that. You understand that Catch-22. So who's considered crazy? I mean, when you talk about it, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
To tell you're gonna very similar to the Nazi euthanasia. It starts subtly. It's about children who are sick. It's emotional,
slope,
and
because when you find yourself feeling okay about the little ones they start off with, you slowly start to turn yourself, and you realize, and you seem happy about it.
Yes,
Sounds
and you
good. start. Okay, no, I understand that. But wait, this makes sense, because if I agree with that, then I must agree with
Jeremy,
this.
There was so many people in Germany, and I kind of believe they had no idea about the concentration camps. They say they had no idea about.
First, they want you to be happy, so then they can slip anything else underneath the rug. Yeah,
and that brings us to the Brave New World. I think people should go read the book.
I think so. I think people should too. I wonder. I think I might even look into that and read it.
And that's different than George Orwell, because Brave New World says basically they're going to pacify us to death and they're going to take control. And it's great if you say, what's the bad thing about it? I'm going to be poor and own nothing but be happy. You know what? And that's I don't know how until they get nasty or they don't want you to be happy or they start taking things away. And you're not going to be happy in the long run, because human nature, you're gonna have depression, and you're just gonna be doped up.
Now, do guns cause cancer, Mike?
No. So gun health, gun again. We're just talking about that. People are talking about how guns is a health issue because people are dying, and I just threw it up there. I just think my whole thing was about
kind of silly.
Yeah,
but
it is right.
Yeah.
And then drugs again. I just want to bang on this.
The GHB
is back
with
and
a vengeance.
That's a gate. That was actually people would take that and put it in people's drinks. And the other thing
was this also what they used to call Spanish fly?
No, I tell you one thing.
Or was Spanish fly an actual thing?
What was a big thing back in the day? It was called a Mickey Finn.
Mickey Finn. There you go.
And that was.
I remember Mickey Finn from when I was a kid. See, these are terms that this generation doesn't know.
That was, I think it's chlorohydrate. So that was chlorohydrate.
Wow.
It comes in liquid form. And I used to give it to babies to sedate them, and I put casts on them.
But guys scoping for girls would slip you a Mickey Finn.
So you put chlorohydrate in an alcohol drink, and you're pretty much semi-conscious. And you know what's good about it is that it doesn't impact the breathing. You'll be passed out and you'll still breathe. Right. I think it was used a lot during Civil War for anesthetic, chlorohydrate. Right. I'm pretty sure that's what
I remember in the 80s and 70s, if a lot of date rape was caused
that was the
GHB, but also like Mickey Finn's. I'll slip her a Mickey Finn.
Any
I might get into her pants a little easier. That's what they were doing.
Well, basically, what you do is you put it in their drink, and then they're unconscious. And that's what happened. And but what I wanted to make a point about.
They're not complaining is the point.
No, what I'm making a point here is that. Now that all these drugs are just coming back, and
they're mixing them in with cocaine and other. Certain drugs you can take a certain amount of. You start mixing in other drugs that you need a different amount to take. Otherwise, you overdose. Who's a scientist? If you're doing these drugs, trust me, man, you don't have the brains to figure out all of that math. Okay, you're gonna die, and that's that.
Yeah, it's bad. Well, listen.
And listen, this is a kid from the past. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Don't do drugs. This is your brain on drugs in a frying pan.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know it is from watching you, Dad.
Yeah.
Those great commercials from back, the public service announcements from back in the day. Please bring them back.
Yeah. I like this thing that back in the Reagan days they said just say no, N-O to drugs.
Just say no.
Now it says just say no, K-N-O-W.
Doesn't even just say, it just says just no.
Yeah, so just know your drugs. Which
K-N-O-W.
Which basically gives you the idea that they're encouraging
anything,
it.
Man.
No, it's not anything. It's a special no.
Right now it's currently a hashtag. If you don't look it up, we had to look that up.
Right.
You don't know what it is.
I believe what's happening now is we're going down the road of the same thing that happened in the Roman Empire, same thing that happened in all the world over the years. We're going into where you have a group of people, a system, an entity, which is the administrative state, and just like the Praetorian Guard, and they're taking over. And maybe they'll get us through this, maybe not. But the will of the people are being diminished all across the board, and that's bad and it's sad. And we're parents are losing authority over their children. Children are being given opportunities to do things that they don't have the mental capacity to deal with.
Right.
We're getting a media that is just overwhelming. We have people in the media who have always been lying and misleading, but now it's just so pervasive, and people can't handle that either. Goebbels with Nazi Germany, it was propaganda. You had Hearst, we always had that, but it's so crazy now. So people are so confused; they don't know what to do, and there's no fulfillment. They're closing 4 Catholic churches down in Philadelphia. 4, just read that. People aren't going to church.
They need church more down in Philadelphia.
And so what's happening is your morality. Yeah. So anyway, listen.
I have one thing to say in closing.
Sure.
If anybody is into stargazing like myself, between now and Christmas Eve, the Geminid meteor storm is occurring. So every night, if you got a clear sky and you get away from the lights, you can see anywhere between 150 shooting stars between now and Christmas Eve.
This whole time? Really? Any night? Can we come over your house? Can people go?
Well, New Jersey is actually the best place to see it.
What time? Like at night, obviously.
At night. So you're...
When at night?
But you look up at night, and, when it's dark and there's no lights about, you'll see up to 150 an hour you're going to see. And they're going to be the brightest shooting stars you'll be able to see the entire year.
When do they peak?
They're peaking now.
Okay,
so now's the time to go see it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jeremy, listen, it was great. I think we had some really great topics. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching us. Please, we're on YouTube. Please subscribe. Yeah. Go to our YouTube channel. Also, we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch. We're on Rumble. Definitely go to Rumble.
Please subscribe. Please share.
And we're on a podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
So give us a shout. Get up to us. We're here every weekend. And everyone, listen, thank you for checking in. Yeah. Hopefully you learned something. And, reach out to us, drkachmar at iCloud.com. That's drkachmar, iCloud.com. I have a webpage, Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center. So reach out to us. We're easy to get hold of. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you